excited you could be here and be here on time. It's 2 o'clock on the button right now. We're going to wait 5 minutes to let people come on, so everybody hang tight. We'll be starting shortly. Once again, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank you all for coming on time. It's now 2:01. You guys are amazing to be here right on time. We're going to wait just 4 more minutes till 2:05 to allow more people to join. So we'll be starting momentarily. Once again, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming on time. It's now 2:02. We're just going to wait 3 more minutes till 2:05 to begin today's webinar. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for coming on time. It's now 2:04. We're just going to wait 1 more minute to 2:05 to begin today's webinar. We're excited you could all be here with us. Very important class today, being taught by an incredible presenter. So you guys are in for a treat. Just hang tight. We'll be starting momentarily. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you all again. Hope you all had a wonderful Passover, Pesach, and you're all refreshed and recharged, ready to get back to the grind. So we're excited to do this month's webinar topic. It's really, we're living in the middle of the next major transformation, the AI transformation. The whole world is slowly being made over with the power of AI. It's a very, very powerful. I'm sure everybody that's on this webinar today has dabbled to some degree in AI. It's changing the way we do so many things. I mean, ultimately, maybe even everything that we do is going to be affected by AI. It's exciting, it's scary, but there's a lot to know if you're business owners, and particularly if you do online marketing. This is a topic that's of interest. Everything about the way you marketed in the past might be changing in the future. And here today to join us for today's webinar is a eminent scholar on this subject, Danny Gavin. Danny is somebody who runs a digital marketing agency, and he's been on the forefront of online marketing for already 15 years. I'm losing track. Danny, you'll tell us exactly how much. But he's there. He was in the first generation when things were just getting started, and there was organic search, and slowly social media came to the scene, and now we have AI that's really spiced things up, and it's a whole world to itself, and everything is everything is being discovered right now. We're almost in like the wild west of AI, if that's the right term to use. So today's class, again, there's tons of, we've actually done other webinars on AI. There's AI, in terms of tools you could use for productivity, and we covered that. Today's class is specifically focused on AI as it applies to search. So if your business is an online business and people are following you through search, this is what today's class is going to talk about, how to understand what's happening and how to optimize for it. And so without further ado, I pass it over to Danny. As always, I would like to thank Crown Heights Community Council, whose partnership with us has enabled this program to flourish. We do one-on-one business mentorship, free service, and we do these monthly webinars to bring this critical information to you. And it's all thanks to the Crown Heights Community Council. So thank you very much for that. Danny, the floor is yours.
Super. Thank you, Rabbi Wordy. It's an honor to be here.
Sorry, I forgot to mention the general format is presentation followed by Q&A. So if you, again, we'd like to be interactive, so Danny will open up for questions in the middle, and you could always post questions on the chat. I will monitor the chat, but we're going to leave a designated time at the end for Q&A. And now, sorry, Danny.
No worries. All right. It's so nice to be here. Yeah. So I have the chat open up on my screen. So if you guys want to throw questions in there, I will be looking at it every once in a while. So this can be a little bit more interactive. So you can put them there, and we'll definitely have time at the end for a Q&A as well. So really excited to be here. All right. So just a little bit about me. I'm Danny Gavin. I was born in South Africa and came to the United States when I was a little kid. I've been involved in the field for over 15 years. So, Rabbi Wordy, you were correct. I've been an adjunct professor at universities for over 10 years. I'm a musician, and thank God I'm a husband and a father of six. So really don't have a lot of time for anything, but I try to do everything. So just a little bit about me. The three main areas that I focus on are in the middle is Optidge, which is my digital marketing agency. I also run an academy online teaching people about digital marketing, which is called Odeo. I also have a really cool podcast called The Digital Marketing Mentor, where we talk about the intersection of mentorship and marketing. And it's really cool, available wherever you get podcasts as well as 24/6. And so I think now it's time, enough about me, to, hold on, there we go, to jump in. So over 47% of recent posts on Medium, and Medium's like a blogging news platform, were likely AI generated. And this is a story that Wired did, which is crazy, right? So that's a big stat. So if AI writes all of our content, do we even need writers anymore? I'm asking for a robot friend. So obviously it's a joke. But another interesting study that was done was roughly 57% of all web-based text has been either generated or translated through an AI algorithm, which you think about it is crazy. That means that what we are reading, what we're seeing, it's all being touched by AI. Even if we don't ourselves use AI, but it's touching everything. Here's something that I saw posted yesterday on LinkedIn. I was so excited to add it to the slide deck. But look at this. Like, this is a recent survey, and obviously you have to check these things. But that ChatGPT may be the largest provider of mental health support in the United States, which is also crazy, right? So it's coming for you, whether you want it or not. And hopefully, as we know, with technology, there's always opportunity to good and positive, and that's what we're focusing on today.
Sorry, I did a big boo-boo here. I don't know if you want to restart. I'm supposed to be recording, and I'm starting that now.
So good news is I started recording on my end, so I'll have it unless you want me to restart.
Okay. Oh, it's
Okay.
okay. Your
Okay.
your call.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So AI content and AI search are already shaping the perceptions and decisions of everything that we do. So the question is, what is generative AI and how is it being used in search? And when we talk about search, we mean practically, right? We are so used to in our life going to Google and searching for things because we need answers. We're looking for a product or service. So the question is, how is AI coming in and influencing that part of our life? So generative AI, which most of you most probably know what it is, but maybe you don't know this term, it's a type of AI, artificial intelligence, that creates new content based on data. It uses machine learning to analyze patterns in data and generate realistic outputs. So what that means practically is that this type of AI, it has a wealth of information. It sees your question, it sees your prompt, and then based off of the information that it has, it's going to figure out what is the best response that I can give. Generative AI search, so that means using generative AI to actually search for things, has promised to change the way people find answers to their questions with a with a lot less friction. And when we say a lot less friction, that means just making it easier for us to find the things that we want to find. For now, not having cluttered layouts and typing in your natural language are some of the biggest pros of searching for answers in generative AI versus traditional searching in Google. So let's explain what that actually means. So let's say I go to Google and I type in what's the best sweater for $50 and is super eco-friendly. So what do I get? I get all these ads and like 15 sustainable sweaters. It's great. Like it's now giving me another 10 hours of work to do to kind of actually find the $50 sweater that's really eco-friendly, but I don't even know where to start. Wouldn't it be a lot easier just to go and type in what's the best sweater and it actually gives me four or five answers of that are exactly under $50 and exactly that are super eco-friendly. It just made my life so much easier. So you tell me, which one would you rather? Would you rather like exhibit A or exhibit B? Right? And that's the question that we have to ask each other. We're so used to this concept of Google and that's where people go and that's what's going on. But honestly, for some of the things that I want to do, getting results like this is just going to make my life so much easier. People now are searching using Claude, Llama, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and so much more. And we'll get into those specifically in a little bit. So this is a cool
Sorry,
chart.
so just to tell people, those are aside from ChatGPT, there are other AI sites that Claude, Llama, Perplexity, and Gemini are competitors of ChatGPT. If you're not familiar.
Cool. Thank you. So with its current growth rate, ChatGPT technically could catch up with Google in 4 years. And that means that when people are searching for something, instead of them going to Google, they're actually going to ChatGPT. So let's look at like what's happened until now in such a short amount of time. Because think about Google was started in around 2000. We're in 2025, 25 years of becoming what it's been. But ChatGPT and generative AI has happened really short, right? So we're looking at a rapid evolution, right? Just 2 years ago, AI chat was a novelty. And you think about it, we like now I feel like it was always with us, but it's not, right? So today it's reshaping billions of people, right? How they search the web. And this timeline highlights the key milestones. So I'm kind of a geek, so I'll spend a little bit of time on this, but not too much. But it's kind of cool to see where we're at, right? So in 2022, ChatGPT kicked off and it's super powerful, but it was limited to the data that it was trained on. right? We know like, past a certain date, the data wasn't up to date. So it was something that was cool, but had its limitations. Comes along Perplexity in December of 2022. It took a different route. It combined AI with live web results from day one. So basically, it took that knowledge base that it was trained on, as well as live web results, and combined them together, right? So you think about it as like the first true AI search engine combining things together. Then you have Llama, which came from Meta. This wasn't a search engine, but a foundational language model, and it had a huge foundation on everything that from AI development. Claude, which is from a company called Anthropic, which is pretty cool, especially for writers. It was another training-based model, but it had a reputation of being more thoughtful, safer. Not real-time search, but it went a big step in the conversational AI design. Google Bard, which eventually became Gemini, was when Google launched what they did, a little bit behind, right? March 2023, in order to compete. And this was a real attempt to bring AI into mainstream search. I'm going to skip, I'm not going to go through everywhere, but finally we get to like December 2024, which is pretty recent. This is where ChatGPT plus SearchGPT, where when you go into ChatGPT, it's not only querying the data of its database, but it's also going and looking at the search results and combining them together is pretty cool. So this evolution, as we look at it, this calendar, it's not about replacing search engines, but it's really about enhancing it. Generative AI lets us move from searching for links to discovering insight faster with more context. Okay. So here's just a snapshot from Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free analytic platform that really everyone should have on their website. But you can see here that now, if you look in analytics, you're actually getting traffic from ChatGPT, right? It's one of the traffic sources, and not necessarily just ChatGPT, but any of those others, Perplexity, any of these other chat search models. But we're actually getting traffic, and you can see that traffic in your analytics. So it's coming. So who here knows what SEO is? And you could come along and type it in, or if you want to mute yourself and say what SEO is, I'm happy to hear. All right, we don't have a.
Let's go. We could get everyone knows what SEO is.
Come on.
Who wants to be brave?
And I see some people in the crowd who I know, so you don't have to
You want to
show your video.
raise your hand if you want to just be brave and tell everyone what SEO is.
It's search engine optimization. It's optimizing the content on your website so that it shows up on
Super. Thanks, Fernanda.
search results. You're welcome.
Yes, so exactly. So the idea is how do we optimize our website, make our website really fitting that we show up on search when people are searching for our products or services. So this is an industry that has been growing, and I'm sure all of you understand or know about it for so many years. But now, as all these changes are happening, there's a new world, and this is GEO. Now, there's a couple different ways of putting it. Some call it AIO, but for the sake of our lecture today, we're going to talk about GEO. So, what is GEO? This is Generative Engine Optimization. It's the practice of optimizing an entity, which an entity just means anything, right? A company, a product, any sort of object to be featured in the responses generated by AI applications, features and models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity. So how do I get my entity, myself, my business into the AI so that when people are searching for things, I show up? So same thing as SEO. SEO was how do I show up in Google? And now we're saying, okay, how do I show up in AI? And we can see there's more than one Google. But by the way, back in the day in 2000, there were a lot more search engines than just Google. So a lot what Rabbi Wordy said before, like where we are now, the Wild West, we were in this Wild West in 2000. There were like 5, 6, 7 search engines. It's the same sort of concept. Will all of the things we see today be here in 5, 10 years from now? Most probably not. But we do have to consider them. But ChatGPT in general is the main player. So AI is changing how people are finding information online, including people who buy products and services from small businesses. So why am I here today? It's to help you, small business owners and marketers, understand and navigate this shift. I do not have all of the answers, but we will discuss both the challenges and the opportunities presented by AI in search. So let's move on to the next step, the rise of AI-driven search. So as you know, I'm a little bit of a geek. So this concept of change, like honestly, in our lives, most of us hate change, but it's happening all the time. And a lot has happened even in Google itself. There's bunches of changes, right? I'm just going to go over some highlights just to get an idea. But 2003 was like Google's first big update. Um, so the idea was that before that, I could take a word like cheap flights, put it 50 times on a page, and show up for that word. And Google's like, okay, I'm gonna, that doesn't work. Social media came out as more of an important fact. Let's go to some things which are more like AI friendly, but like the Hummingbird update in 2013, um, it it's basically like Google not just looking at keywords, but it started interpreting intent. So, for example, if someone searched, "How do I fix a slow laptop?" no longer was Google looking for websites, pages that had slow laptop a million times, but rather, what's an actual article that will solve this answer? Moving over to RankBrain was Google's first major AI integration. So Google actually connected AI as far back as 2015. So if someone, let's say, typed in a thing that you plug in that makes the internet work, it knew that it meant a Wi-Fi router, right? Even without the exact keywords. But until that point, it didn't. Moving to like BERT of 2019, this gave Google's understanding of natural language better, especially for longer, more nuanced queries. So if someone said, "Can I pick up medicine for someone else?" Bert understood that this was it was really a pharmacy policy, not just a general medical type of question, and therefore the results that came in were better. So lots have been changing. It's not like this is the first time. So now AI is driving search as well. So I don't know how many of you have seen this. I'm sure a lot of you have, but when you go to Google now, at the top, there is an AI overview, which is AI in Google search itself, which is going ahead and taking the information technically that's at the bottom of the page and bringing in a succinct summary so that someone can easily find answers. And this is good, but it's also bad. So we're going to talk about that. So first, from an academic level, different AI models use different sources. Okay. And so just like a model, like a fashion model has a signature style, there are runways, editorial catalog models. Same idea with AI models. They have different ways of pulling together a look. So some rely on what they've learned in the past, some pull from what's happening right now, and some do a mix of both. So think of Google as the original influencer. They're always on trend, they're always connected. With its AI overviews, Google is still a traditional search engine at heart, but it crawls the web constantly, and now it's just layering some summaries on top. But it's fundamentally pulling data from live websites. Claude and Llama, these are more like classic couture. They rely on their past training, like articles, books, code, and conversations that they studied before their debut. That means that they're great at deep, thoughtful answers, but they're not checking the runway, like what's fashionable right now or the news every single day. Now we get to hybrids of high fashion and street style. So, for example, Perplexity and ChatGPT search, these are like stylists who blend classic knowledge with what's trending in real time. They don't just rely on what they've read, they also search the web as they respond, which gives them the best of both worlds. And then finally, hybrid systems, which is like ChatGPT and Gemini, these models are the true chameleons of AI, right? They kind of make a real time decision. Should I look at the web right now, or should I look at my database right now? And based on the type of question that you're asking, they're going to decide what to do. So often you'll see, and we'll see this in a little bit, when you go to ChatGPT and you're searching for something, sometimes it will just give you an answer. Sometimes it will start bringing links from websites that it's pulling from. And that's that hybrid nature that where ChatGPT lives. Okay, so some of the biggest challenges for marketers and small business owners are AI is changing how users find answers, often without visiting traditional websites, right? Users don't have to visit the websites as much these days. And even when they do leave, so when people leave that search engine, that ChatGPT, what do the marketers or the small business owners end up with? Dark traffic. What does it mean, dark traffic? Sources of untrackable clicks, right? We're so used to going into Google Analytics and seeing, okay, where did my traffic come from? And why do I care? Because, if I'm getting a lot of traffic um, from COL Live, for example, then maybe I should spend more money on advertisements there. But imagine if I go to my Google Analytics and I'm seeing a lot of traffic, but it's not showing me where to come. So a lot of people are stuck in this mindset. Ooh, we can see exactly where our traffic's coming from. But honestly, this has been changing for a while. Because look at all the different ways that traffic come to your website and you wouldn't know where they came from. Traffic that goes through a redirect, tapping on a link in many mobile or social apps, clicking on a link in an email program when the email's not tracked properly, clicking on links from like Slack, an untagged link in a PDF, clicking on a link in some sort of software. So this concept of getting traffic from somewhere and not seeing it, it's a real, it's a realistic thing that's been happening for a long time. So this is a really cool chart from SparkToro, which is a cool tool, by the way, but you can see what's the percentage of traffic coming from a certain social media network that's dark. Meaning if I were to look into Google Analytics, it wouldn't say that I got it from TikTok. It would just say it came direct, which means kind of blank. We don't know where it came from. But I mean, look at this: TikTok, Slack, Discord, WhatsApp, Facebook. I mean, man, all of those, you're not going to see any attribution inside Google Analytics. And then you can see as we move down, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest. So there are percentages there which will also have dark traffic. And now, so nowadays, clicking on many links that are provided by AI platforms like ChatGPT, Google's AI Overview, Claude, or even Google's new GPT search extension, as well, if we're going to be getting traffic from those places, they are not going to show up inside of Google Analytics, and it's going to show up as dark traffic or just saying, hey, the person came to me direct. And remember, it doesn't mean that the person came to you direct. It just means they came from a place that we're unable to track where they came from. So just a side note, when a user asks directly for a URL, ChatGPT will usually provide the link without UTM parameters. So if I go directly and say, hey, what's the URL for Brian Gavin Diamonds? It's going to give me the URL. And when I click on that, it's not, and I go into Google Analytics, it's not going to say that it came from ChatGPT. However, when a user does not ask for a specific URL and ChatGPT provides a link as part of a broader source, then it will add a UTM tag at the end. So you can see, like, for example, here for this hospital, you can see that at the end, it's got UTM source ChatGPT. And that's why when I go into Google Analytics, I would be able to see that and that I'm getting traffic from ChatGPT. So some of the traffic from ChatGPT, I will see my analytics, but a lot of it I won't. And once again, it really depends on the query, the type of question that a person's asking, and based on the response that they're getting. So when you think about this, as search evolves, some of the metrics that we've relied on for years in SEO just aren't as meaningful anymore. Generative AI is changing not just how people search, but what gets seen. So, for example, like rankings, with the AI, the idea of a single result showing up on a page, it's starting to fade, right? Generative engines don't always show the same answer twice. They can vary their response, right? It just depends. Click-through rate, which means how many times is my website seen, and then out of times how many it's seen, how many people actually click through, right? So we used to optimize for that blue link, but now people often get their answer right inside the AI interface, and they might not even click through. Monthly search volume, right? This is another shaky metric because as people ask more personalized questions, there's no longer this concept of a keyword. Like, what keyword do they search, right? It's not a keyword anymore, right? My question and the question you ask is going to be very different. And therefore, to see, how many searches a month does this keyword have? That's going to be going away as well. And traffic from Google, right? Traffic, which is such a big thing. Like, man, think about how many people discuss, hey, is our traffic up? Is it down, right? But even if your site is well optimized to show up in Google, AI might answer the question directly, meaning users never make it to your website. We're seeing a real decline in organic traffic because of this shift. And I'm going to show you actually a real life example. So I know so far you're like, oh my gosh, Daddy, doom and gloom, right? My pointer is not doom and gloom. It's just kind of like we have to be realistic of where we are right now. It's a big change, but we can't close our eyes to it. We have to know what's going on. Okay. So another great chart from SparkToro, but is to show you like how do people actually use Google? And you can see that a big part of Google is informational searches, navigational, commercial, but transactional, which means people who are actually looking, to purchase something is very, very little. A lot of it is, how do I get to this place, right? So what's left in traditional Google search is going to be increasingly navigational. people looking for a specific brand or a URL, right? Like, okay, I know I want these Ray-Ban glasses. How do I get it? General queries of like doing research and things like that are going and doing research are going to be absorbed by AI, right? So in a way, Google's sending traffic or will be, right, only to brands that people already know. So this is just a cool, like real life example. So this is a client of mine. We are doing paid search for them, not SEO, search engine optimization, but they needed some help and they were pretty much freaking out. So what, in short, just to make this simple, you can see that in Q1 of 2025 compared to Q1 2024, look at the drop of their traffic, right? In 2024, they got 24,000 clicks. In 2025, their traffic is down to 11,000 clicks. So it's down by 50%. And does that mean that they did something wrong? Does it mean that, oh my gosh, what's going on? And therefore, what do we do, right? So we're not going to get into all the details of this, but I just want to show like this will happen. This will happen to a lot of people. When we start looking at our analytics, our traffic is going to go down. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong. It just means that things are changing. Okay. Now, specifically with this client, what was kind of interesting is we looked at their paid search traffic to see what are terms that actually bring them sales, not just like general traffic. Because just because I get 20,000 searches doesn't mean that all of those searches are valuable, right? So the fact that it went down to 11,000. So how do we know which keywords are valuable or not? So we went ahead and looked at their advertising data in order to find keywords that actually brought sales. So the cool thing is you could see that for those type of terms, they were actually up 21%. So they were actually doing better year over year. For those terms that were really important, they were actually increased. And the click-through rate was better and so on and so forth. So the lesson of this is it's always good to look behind the data. But my main point of bringing this here is that this is an effect of AI, right? Things that I'm used to getting traffic based off of my blog posts and things that are explaining different aspects so that when people are doing research, because a lot of that is going to go to AI, it's possible that a lot of my traffic is going to go down. But that doesn't mean that my business is going to go down. It just means that that important KPI metric that we're used to looking at, we might have to switch. So great, Danny. You kind of set, oh, there's a lot of changes going on. So how do we adapt to the AI-driven search landscape? So think of your website as a data feed that trains the LLM. It's basically it's a source, it's a library that's training ChatGPT and any other LLM. But it's no longer going to be the destination to people who are searching, right? Not necessarily when people are search are they now going to come to my website, but my website is now more of an asset or a library that's going to help train that LLM. In this new world, our carefully produced content serves to educate the LLM and get into its training data, into its own library, right, to be available for remixes. AI is evaluating content for credibility and authority. So how do I actually get in there? Is they want original content. I don't want another AI article. Like I'm AI, I can do AI articles, right? I'm looking for content that's credible and authoritative that I can bring in. And also what is said about your brand, both on your website and across the web, right? They want to see, okay, what do you say about your company? But what do other people say about your company? And I'm going to look at all of that. So if you think about it, GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, is actually more of an influence campaign versus an optimization campaign, right? The goal isn't just to rank, it's to be included in the answer. It's about influencing AI models to include your brand when they generate a response. With SEO, we were optimizing a site to rank. With SEO, right, it's about it being a data source. So instead of tracking keywords or rankings, we need to really measure brand visibility inside AI responses. How often is our brand being cited or mentioned by AI tools? That's going to be the new benchmark of the future. So what can we focus on? How can small, medium-sized businesses, marketers influence the AI today, right? Now this is changing, right? It's not necessarily how it's going to be forever, but what can we do now? And I am going to bring 3 live examples at the end of the presentation, just so you can actually see how you could do this yourself. Number 1, When your customer is on Search Generative AI, your assets need to be structured in a way that LLMs can find and ingest your data. Many of the traditional SEO rules apply. So what that means is the content in your website, make sure it's structured in an organized fashion. The same way that your content would get indexed by Google would be the same way. So let me structure my paragraphs, my content with the right headings, with have the right content, put questions and answers together, make it in a way that it will be easy for generative AI also to pull from it. And that's why it's funny. I saw a guy on LinkedIn maybe it was a couple days ago or a week ago. He's like, anyone who claims that there's GEO, I'm going to unfollow him. Because he's saying like, the heart of GEO is really SEO. So, but neither here nor nowhere. Number two, some AI models have licensing partnerships with various web properties. For example, ChatGPT has partnerships with Reddit, News Corp, Vox Media, and Future, giving it license to train on the data. How do you show up there? How do you show up on the sources that ChatGPT or any of these models are pulling from? And we'll see this, so if everyone that they're pulling up has a review on house.com, right? Imagine you're a plumber and house.com and you don't have good reviews on house.com. I better go ahead and start building up my profile there because that's an important piece of information that ChatGPT is using to determine whether you're a good plumber or not. Remember, the chat is open. So if anyone has questions, you can type them in there, but we will have Q&A at the end. Number three, make sure you are producing authoritative content with citations and statistics, quotes, and a simple, readable, and natural sounding language. So this generic content, putting it out there, it's not enough. Why is your content going to be better? And honestly, this is something Google demanded of us for years, but everyone got away without it. Excuse me. So the idea is, no, you actually need to do that now. And strategic text strings, carefully crafted phrases or content blocks inserted into online content with the goal of influencing how LLMs rank and present their content. So for example, if I see that, like the AI overview of Google, if it's going to bring, it has a question and it's pulling answers, do I have that answer written in that form in my, sometimes I could explain something over 5 paragraphs, but sometimes I need to explain it in like one sentence. And with that one sentence, I could then pull or the AI can pull. So these are like 4 general ideas. Now let's look at some examples. We are going to look at a plumber, marketing agency, and healthcare. These examples are not local to New York. I didn't have a chance to update them, but the same thing apply. Okay, so let's go into a plumber. So if I come along and I go to ChatGPT and I say, why should I use Village Plumbing in Houston? So they're going to come in and give me a whole bunch of information about Village Plumbing. And the cool part is I can click on sources and see all of the different places that it's looking at. So it's not just looking at their own website. They're looking at a whole bunch of places. Look at this, right? Customer reviews are mixed, right? Many clients commend their prompt service. However, some customers express concerns about high service costs and instant communication, right? So obviously, Village Plumbing, they need to worry like, ooh, like that's the perspective that we're giving out there. How do we change what's going on, right? That's a serious thing that they have to deal with right now. But also, what do we start to see is that if I'm a plumbing startup in this area, I can start to see, okay, what are important sources? Do I have profiles in all of them? So it's kind of like back in the day with SEO, it's like, I need links to my website. This is different. This is like, and look, there's a whole Reddit thread about plumbers. Maybe I need to go and start a thread in Reddit about plumbing and get my name mentioned. This has hints of old school PR, right? Public relations and being there. And I just wanted to show you, for example, Perplexity, if anyone has ever used Perplexity, but it's a similar concept here. You can see, okay, these are the different areas that people are looking at. And you could do that with your business. Type it in. Why should I use? Right? And let's start to see what is the AI talking about my company, my business, and similar companies, what are they saying? So the next thing I can do is let me ask the AI itself, what are important things that I should consider when choosing a plumbing company? Tell me, what are you using to rank what's a good plumbing company? So you can see here, I've got 7 categories that if I'm a startup business, let me see what's important. And do I have this, right? So for example, I see that 24/7 emergency services is something important. Now, not all plumbers are 24/7, but you see that's something I have to consider. Ooh, I never like obviously plumbers would know this, but the idea is maybe I need to add that to my business or a warranty on parts and labor. I never even considered it. Maybe that's something we need to do on some of our services. But man, I'd literally have like, okay, this is what I really need to be in order can I be a player in this market? So now, okay, great. So now that you've told me who are the number ones that I should go after, who are the top companies, so now it's going to bring a whole bunch of companies. It's interesting that once again, it's showing me websites. Not necessarily is it their own website. It's going to be other websites as well, but it gives me like the four top plumbers in the area. Now, what I want to show you is let's go to the top one, Abacus Plumbing. And what I did was go to their homepage. Now, remember, I found 7 areas that generative AI found important. And let's go to their homepage and see, do they talk about these 7 areas on their homepage? And the answer is yes. All 7 of those areas are actually there in some form or another. But imagine how many people have websites that don't even think about it, right? So and once again, this is not like hocus pocus. It's just, this is all very logical and it makes sense, right? But let's look at it. Like, okay, 24 hours a day, right? 24/7 plumbing. We do really good customer service. We have licensed plumbers. We do free estimates. In the navigation, we talk about warranties. We've been serving people since 2003, and look how many reviews we have. All 7 areas have been touched upon the website. So the question is, okay, what's important about my business? What are AI saying that's important? And am I including that? A lot of this is really what you should have been doing in SEO for 25 years. But what this is doing is it's pushing us to be more real. You can't really fake it anymore. You kind of, right? I think that's a good thing, right? We know this concept that the world has become a world of truth, right? And that's really what this is, right? This is the idea that let's see what's important. Am I actually telling people? And if I'm not there yet, I know what are the things that I need to add to my business to maybe be more competitive and to be where I need to go. And remember, guys, don't be afraid. It's not like everyone's going to ChatGPT and searching for everything today, but this is where it's going, right? So we need to start preparing. We need to start thinking about these things. And for ChatGPT, it's also going ahead and it's still bringing in map results, right? What we're used in Google for local services. So if I typed in my zip code, and I was just showing off that I've got a 770 in my zip code, but the idea is that it's showing up there as well. So that gives you an example for like plumbing. If I go to a marketing example, which would be, best digital marketing agencies, and, my agency didn't show up. So I said, hey, why didn't it show up? I think it's good enough to show up. So it told me why, right? Like, okay, yeah, you are really good, Danny Gavin, but even though you're impressive, but maybe you need to show up your some visibility on third-party review platforms like Clutch or Sortlist, where no one says anything about you, and when people are searching for your services, often they're going to go to these sites, and therefore we look at those sites, and maybe you should start building up some profiles there. They're basically telling me what to do. That's so cool, right? Now I just have to listen and do it. Now I know this is more small business and marketing, but I did do this presentation previously for healthcare, and I didn't want to take this out because I still think it's cool to just get in a see like how this works. So it's a cool example. Um, so if I say find a doctor at UT Physicians, so once again, it's giving me the advantages of what's great about it, and we do sort of a similar scenario. Um, and then I found this one really interesting because I actually spoke to this group here, number 2. And I was like, guys, why are you only number 2? That's horrible. But look at what the source that they pulled, right? So what's the best physician group in a certain area? And you can see that the number 1, actually, the source is their own website. The number 2 is some third-party website. So why is that? It's amazing. Methodist Hospital has a page on their website that is all about physician organizations. So you wouldn't even think to add this page on my site because that's who we are. Why do we need a page to explain what it is? But interestingly enough, that was the reason that they were number 1, is because you really are a physician organization. You have a page on your website. But now UT, they need to go and add a page because they never even thought we had to. So once again, there's a lot that you can do here to see like where are they pulling from? What are they considering important? What can we add to be part of the conversation? This one's a lot of fun. Who are the top 5 GI docs? So it gives me 5 docs. Most of these docs they're all coming from like health news, all these rating sites. But luckily for me, the fifth doc was actually from the organization that I was speaking to, UT Physicians. So the question was why? Why did we have like 5 people? It's kind of like a Gemara, right? It's like the Talmud. We have 5 of them. 4 of them are all coming from third-party sites, and then but the fifth one is actually coming from UT Physicians directly. So I asked, like, what's important when you are considering a gastro? And they said it's based off of the doctor's experience, it's based off of the patient reviews, and it's based off of the hospital affiliations. So I know that these 3 things are really important when I'm looking for a gastro. Now let's look at the website. If these 3 things are so important, what did they do? So the cool part is Dr. Jenner Schroff, when I went to their website, she was number 1 actually in reviews. So if you actually went through all of them, they actually chose the best gastro out of reviews. But look what else is here. We've got local reviews, what her education is, and her hospital affiliations. So the 3 things that they consider important are added on every page of the website by every doctor. And therefore, naturally, it's going to choose that information because it's there. So the question is for our own businesses, what is being considered? What's important? And then do I have that information on my website? And the other websites, which are also important, do I even have a presence there? Is there a good presence, a bad presence? And if there's something that's mentioned negatively about me, okay, we got to do some work. We got to do some PR work to make sure that's more going on. And if I want to be known for a different thing, I need to start working. Add that information to my site. Make sure that in other places people know about it, right? So final thoughts. AI is not killing SEO, it's amplifying it. I want to start with some reassurance. AI is not the end of SEO, it's actually giving SEO more power. It's amplifying the impact of strong content, clean structure, and a good strategy. We've been hearing SEO is dead for over a decade, right? But here we are, we're still optimizing, we're still adapting. Now it's just a new era. Instead of blue links, we're going to show up in AI answers, whether that's in ChatGPT, Google, or other places. Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO, might sound like a new buzzword, but really it's just SEO 2.0. It's about making sure your brand is part of the AI's answer, not just Google results page. We can't keep using yesterday's playbook. Whether you're an SEO pro or you're just starting out, we need to embrace AI in your content and strategy as the next big step forward. And be strategic about what's said about you on and off your website. This is really big, right? Because AI pulls from across the internet, not just your site. So brand mentions, reviews, third-party bios, even like stuff that I put in LinkedIn. Like they know about my company Optidge because of things that we said on LinkedIn, which is right. So it's everywhere. They're listening, they're watching, right? Online reputation is now a big part of SEO. I think it always was, but now even more. And small SMBs should be engaging with this proactively, right? That's why we're doing this today, right? Don't wait. Geo and AI search aren't just for the tech giants. You can start to train AI to know who you are, even if you're a local business. Start early, start small, and just start, right? Let's not wait in 5 years from now. And be ethical, right? We love ethics are important. Misleading AI can lead to long-term issues. Think of it as SEO in the early days. The more transparent you are and honest you are, the better chance you have of becoming a trusted source. So don't misuse it in the wrong way. Ask questions and experiment and test, right? Nobody has all the answers yet, including me, including a lot of people who've been in this realm for a long time. The best way to learn is to test. See what prompts pull your brand into a response, try different formats, track what works. This is really your laboratory right now. So in short, SEO is not gone. It's really just growing up. And the sooner we lean into that shift, the more we can shape what comes next. So AI is not killing. And obviously there's a lot of sources that I used to pull. Here's the list. And thank you very much. We're now open for questions.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. I appreciated this. You were very clear. You went through it step by step, and you gave a great backdrop, and you educated me actually. I didn't I see now. I don't think myself. I realized people are searching completely differently now, and I guess for a lot of small businesses that want to, I mean, there's two angles. I mean, you want to show if you're a local small business, you got to find a way to show up local, I guess, and for um, but I guess I'll start the questions, and everyone here could after my questions, everyone could chime in. Just, let's just from two angles. Like if someone's a local small business, I guess they have to optimize themselves when people, let's say I saw before, I don't know if he's still on. JJ Katz was on before. He's a local realtor in Crown Heights, right? So I'm saying if you want if people go to ChatGPT and they're gonna start asking who's the best local Crown Heights realtor, that's what people are gonna. I mean, but he's up. I mean, there's probably 150 of them. So how you
Right.
have
So
to start ranking. That's
right. So that's why you got to start like I said, realizing, like ask it, hey, what should someone consider when looking for a realtor in general? Like get an idea what it is, and then be like, okay, specifically to Crown Heights, and start understanding what are those points. And therefore, JJ then can go ahead and say, okay, these are all the important things. So now, number one, do I even do these things? And if I do them, then do people know about it? Is it even on my website? Are other places that are important to my industry even mention these things about me? And that's really what the formula is. Um, and you'll be surprised to see, okay, wow, there's a lot of work to do. Or like, wow, I didn't even think of myself this way. And I think that's the way that I would approach it.
okay. And then also I see over here another person on now that's a product seller. So again for them in terms of optimizing to be found, you know, I guess it's not that much different than the past. Like if someone was looking for a beautiful tableware or whatever it was, and they put a search for it, 1,000 things would list, and you wanted to rank first. So now you just have to they have to think in a different way to rank in ChatGPT. Is it?
Right, because you have to see so you've got to think about what are the different places that ChatGPT or other generative AI models are, right, what are they looking? What are they weighing as being important? And that's kind of what I have to start looking at. Um, but remember, there's other stuff that you can do to the website. So, like old school SEO um, tactics, not old school SEO, but there's like a concept of doing structured data, which is like a technical coding that you can do on the back of your website, which is very helpful for Google. But lots of people saying that's really important as well. So in addition, I would say some of the best practices, like for Google, for any people who are selling products, structured markup or a schema markup, as they call it, if you don't have that on your website, that's going to be good for Google, but also good for search for AI as well.
Okay, so go. We're going to open it up now. Everyone that's on here, if you have particular questions specific to your type of business, just raise your hand. This way, I'll call you one by one to ask questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, just there's a little feature here where you could raise your hand, and we'll call on you to ask your particular questions.
So, Rabbi Werdy, there is someone sent me a
Yes.
direct someone said sent me a direct message. So I'll just read out the question. I
Okay.
won't say their name. How
Yeah.
does search engines look at AI generated content in terms of quality and ranking? So this is a great question. Something we didn't cover today. I actually have a whole podcast episode about this one specifically. So if you can't reach out to me, I can send it to you. But the general idea is Google right now is is really hampering down on that because it's really easy to generate content now. But the question is, how authoritative is it? How much value are you adding? Um, so 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 me personally, I'm very careful about generating content using AI. Now I'll use AI to create a brief, sort of an outline what it should be, but I like to have a real human actually write it. And once again, like we said, you need to add in quotes. Like, so for example, if Rabbi Wordy was going to write content about his organization, man, he's got a lot of stats and a lot of information, and he's spoken to people. So when he writes content, he's got so many unique perspectives that are actually real. That's valuable. But if you would just write a random, article about finding a job in Crown Heights, and it wouldn't add any value. So you can use AI, but be careful because sites that are like spinning up 100 articles a day or a month, often it might work for a little bit, but over time they are getting penalized because to Google it's going to be spam. So hopefully that helps.
Great. Okay, so just if anyone has a question, you could just unmute yourself and ask. So we have 5 minutes left of the presentation. Feel free to chime in. I guess there's people don't.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had a question. Hi, how are you?
okay, go ahead.
Um,
Sorry, who's
my
speaking?
question,
This is Robert. I'm sorry,
yeah, I go by Ruvain. Just when I use
Ruben.
Zoom
Okay,
sometimes, I go by Robert also.
okay.
How are AI agents going to affect ranking inside of LLMs like ChatGPT and other ones like Perplexity and Cloud? A lot of people are using AI agents these days, and it's becoming more and more popular now. And it seems like using that can game the system for people who are trying to use new age SEO. I feel AI agents will just like dominate across the board.
So is your question that and I'm just going to rephrase it just to make sure we're on the same page.
Sure, like people could deploy AI agents to kind of game the system, and it's kind of hard to rank and to get ahead of the system when you have literally ChatGPT launching its own like its own horde of armies to kind of do its own thing. So I'm trying to figure out how our company is supposed to rank when, let's say, companies that have more funding to push out very extensive and complicated AI agents to kind of drown the competition out.
Is your question on ranking in Google or ranking in AI?
Both.
Okay. So the answer is that um, so I'm just going to rephrase the question to make it simple for everyone else. The
Sure.
question is that people are using AI in order to help them rank. Because for me to go ahead and optimize a website, or to create content or do whatever, if I'm doing it as manually, then there's only so much I can do in a day. But if I can train a robot, right, an AI agent to go ahead and do everything that I'm doing on a quicker scale, it
Hmm.
definitely makes it more competitive. So the answer is, I mean, if your competitors are going ahead and using AI agents to help to optimize their sites to do things more at scale, that is something that you will have to compete with. But once again, there's a right way of doing it and a wrong way of doing it. You can do it where you game the system and you're doing things that are wrong. And therefore, eventually, whenever you do something wrong, it's going to catch up. If it doesn't catch up today, it will be tomorrow. It will happen. And therefore, you need to
Hmm.
do things right. If I do it in a kosher way, where it's as if, instead of Danny doing it and Danny, doing things in a kosher way, but now I can make 10 Dannys do it, then that's a good way. So if everyone is taking one Danny and making 10, then technically, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to do that as well. You've got to find that's just how it's going to be in the future, right? It's going to even be with
Right.
like car companies, right? Like if we're a car company and we're using a manual line, and they're able to create 1,000 more cars a day, yeah, eventually you're going to go out of business. So long term, yes, everyone is going to need to find ways of how do I use AI to shorten the time to be more competitive. Um, so that would be my answer, the perspective to look at
Yes.
it. But
Got
but
it.
once again,
So it's become more competitive then.
it,
Okay.
it becomes more competitive, right? But once again, but then eventually, since everyone's doing it, it levels the field in a way, right? I think it's just that time where more people are educated on certain things or less. This is like the golden time is, can I get an advantage, right? On,
Right.
starting and doing things earlier.
So the other question I want to roll into right now, the interface of Google. Right now, everyone's still using Google, even though AI is catching up, but we're still in the Google world, and people are still searching through Google Maps and through Google.com to see listings, ratings, and to pick services and products through there. How is that going to display onto LLM screens like ChatGPT or any one of the other LLMs when it's going to only give you like the top in the category. So you're not going to really be able to filter out all those 5, 10 that you would usually look at Google Maps and see like star ratings, review counts, and kind of be able to distill who you want to go with. It's almost like it's going to feed you the top results out of like 1,000. And it's always going to be like these top 3 or 4 people who optimize like crazy are going to steal the market.
Okay, so the answer number one is the the assumption that you made at the beginning of your question that people still use Google, I don't disagree with you, but a lot of people are using ChatGPT,
No,
and
I know.
therefore,
I use it 90% of the time, but I don't know how
right.
many
So,
more
so, I,
people are
so I
jumping
just I
on
want
it.
to clarify that that assumption that people are only using Google for search is wrong. Like it's definitely growing in other areas. That was my point. Number
Right.
two is I don't know. I don't know exactly how things are going. But right now, right, I showed you
Mhm.
screenshots in the presentation where even in ChatGPT, they're showing a map and like five
Right.
results, and they're doing that. So we're in an interesting time where it's like search and a list of 10 links is normal and people are used to it, right? And then we
Right.
have this world where I can ask a question and get an answer. And right now we're
Instantly.
somewhere in between. And there's also the ethical part of like, how can I let ChatGPT give the answer when really that information comes from my website and I own the content, right? So if you don't
Right.
give me credit, then what are you gonna do? So I don't know, but this is why it's important to be aware and to like I know a guy who like over the past 6 to 12 months, every day he types in his brand name into five different, ChatGPT to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what people did back in 2000 in search engines, right?
That's
So
smart. You got to play where everything is
yeah, so just
attached.
it's sort of like my point here is you could look at this and get all scared and be like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, the world's over. What am I supposed to do? And I would say no. Like just like in everything in life, like when I go from eighth grade to high school and high school to,
Mhm.
higher that, each one's a change. This is a change. And we just got to start understanding. Okay, the shock sets in. It's like, oh my God. But then it's like, okay, let's do small steps, one at a time. Let's see what's going on. What are we
Oh, for
doing?
sure. I'm not scared of it. Just it's definitely going to
And
change
I'm not saying
industries.
you, Ruvain. I wanted to let the,
No, in
the
general,
crowd
but
in
for
general.
some people
Yeah,
in the marketplace, people who don't adapt to this, they're going to get wiped away for sure.
true.
Removed.
But think about it. Companies that were number one in the yellow pages because they were AAA plumbing, when
Hmm.
they didn't make a website, they also got wiped out. So it's
That's
not
right.
like the same thing happens all over again. It's just in different iterations.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate
Sure.
that. Hmm.
All right, that was a great conversation, and I hope everyone here enjoyed this as much as I did. This class was recorded. We will send out, God willing, tomorrow or the day after. You'll get an email with a link to the video. And as always, Danny, thank you very much. I want to wish I was supposed to do this at the beginning, but Danny gets a Mazel Tov. He had a baby 2 weeks ago. He should raise her to Torah Chuppah Masim Tovim. And thank you always for making yourself available. This was wonderful, and looking forward to staying in touch. Everybody, have a wonderful
Thanks.
day.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Take care. And